Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spiceworks Ziv Davis Partner Webinar. I'm David with the community, and I'll be your moderator for today's session, brought to you by baramundi Software. First off, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. This is our initial live event of the year, so glad to see everyone back for our live events, and glad that you can spend some time with us today. Today, our experts from Baramundi will take us through the Windows 11 early adoption or follow cautiously discussion. Before we hand it over to Axel and David, a few reminders about our console. As usual, this session is being recorded, so if you step away or miss any part of today's session, you can view it on demand with a link that you'll all get after the session. Also, Baramundi's provided some additional resources in the console. Take a look there under the slide window, and you can download additional content there, including a trial. Also, we want to keep this interactive, so you can submit your questions at any time using the Q&A widget on your screen there to the left. Get those in, and they'll queue up on our side, and we'll get to as many of those before we finish today. And any questions we don't get to, we'll follow up with you after we're done. Also, we invite you to join in the attendee chat. That's the section there on the right. You can pull that up using the chat icon button there at the bottom, second from the right, and join a conversation with your fellow attendees. A reminder that our chat does follow the community guidelines, so keep things fun and professional, and also keep those questions coming. With that, I will turn it over to to Axel Peters, VP West Coast Operations at Baramundi. Take it away, Axel.
Thank you so much, David. And yeah, thank you all for having us today. I hope you all had a good start into the new year. Yeah, the big question, should I start planning deployment of Windows 11 now or sit tight for a while? That's something we want to go into in this webinar today, with focus on what's new, how it handles from a management perspective, and also a little bit of a live demo of the management and how that looks in Baramundi. Yeah, I'm Axel, Vice President, West Coast Operations with Baramundi. Over 7 years with the company already, and I'm located here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest by Seattle. I will go over the more theory part of our topic today, and I got me some help from my colleague Dave, who's more on the techie side of things. Dave, a few words to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm on the East Coast in Boston. Nice sunny day today, and like Axel said, I have a couple of things prepared. Looking into Windows 11 installs, upgrades, requirements, and how to manage that whole topic.
Cool. Looking forward to it. All right. Before we start, I'm curious where we are standing right now. So, who of you did the jump already and moved their environment to Windows 11? I put up a poll here so you can vote and let us know where we are standing right now. I give it a couple seconds, so most of you guys, wow, you're quick. So we get some information in here, and then we can look at the results. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what I expected. Most of you guys haven't jumped to Windows 11 yet. Some of you are definitely testing it out, probably on their own machines and stuff. And actually, we got some people here, 6 people who did the move already to Windows 11. Wow, that's pretty cool. So you got your experience in that topic already. Yeah, before we go into the what and how, I would like to go into the why. So why is there a Windows 11? There was actually a long misconception that Windows 10 is going to be the last Windows. The Microsoft development evangelist Jerry Nixon said at the MS Ignite in 2015, quote start, right now we are releasing Windows 10, and because it's the last version of Windows, we are still working on Windows 10, quote end. That was pretty much interpreted as it's the last version, but he really just meant it's the latest version at the time, and that's what they put most work into. And Microsoft never really corrected him or commented on this, so it pretty much held up for a while that Windows 10 is believed to be the last Windows. So why Windows 11 now? It's probably not because of money, because it's again available as a free upgrade for everyone, or the feature of being able to install Android apps or updated designs are probably also not the main reason. When Microsoft announced last year the hardware requirements, it became pretty clear that one of the main reasons is security, because the new hardware specs just allow to enable protections like Windows Hello, device encryption, the virtualization-based security, hypervisor-protected code integrity, and secure boot. And all those combined have shown a 60% lower risk of malware attacks. So, definitely much safer. And also with the new operating system, Microsoft is working more towards the whole Windows as a service with the Azure Virtual Desktop and the Windows 365 technology. So we will go into the what's new, and I promise you I keep that part pretty short because I think every one of you knows already what's new in Windows 11 by now. But then we will tackle the whole management part. How does Windows 11 management from a management perspective? Also then with the live demo. And then in the end, we will go into the question if it makes sense to adapt early or just wait a little bit longer. So what's new? Well, Windows 11 comes with some cosmetic improvements, such as a taskbar with all the icons centered by default. So all the Mac users out there are probably happy now because they feel more like home. The start menu has returned and now comes with pinned and recommended apps. Windows 7 style widgets have also made their comeback, which I think is pretty cool because I always like them. But I think that's really a matter of taste if you like it or not. Beside that, pretty much has the same base as Windows 10 and handles and performs mostly like the predecessor. Only the upgrades seem to take a little bit longer than under Windows 10 so far, but I guess the 6 guys here who did the jump already can tell a little bit about that. In general, Microsoft didn't have too much luck with changing the whole design of Windows in the past, so to do something new here was definitely a big step for them. And it almost seems like Microsoft always released a good, then a bad, then a good version again. And the opinions online really split when it comes to Windows 11 here. So what's your take on that? Do you still think the cycle will continue like in that graphic here? Feel free to leave a comment in the chat here and let us know what the Spiceworks community thinks about that. All right, then let's dive into the management options of Windows 11. And first things first, how hard is it to deploy Windows 11 in my environment on my endpoints? The short answer is, if your machines match the requirements, Windows 11 deployment is actually pretty easy. The deployment is very similar to Windows 10 installations or upgrades. And even Microsoft said that deploying Windows 11 to your users will not be any different from installing yet another Windows 10 update. You can mostly utilize the same tools for the installation like Endpoint Manager, WSUS, Autopilot, and of course also the baramundi tools like OS Install and the OS Customization tool here. Only the Windows Update for Business can't be utilized for the upgrade from a Windows 10 to a Windows 11. After it's not just a update anymore, it's actually a whole new operating system. So that's why they took it out there. Beside that, the experience so far showed that the updates, as mentioned, take a little bit longer compared to Windows 10. So you should roughly plan an hour for the endpoints time if you want to do the switch there. But what's nice is that the group policies from Windows 10 will also work the same under the new OS. So Microsoft classifies the OSs in their systems now with Windows 10 and later and doesn't make Windows 11 a new entry. By the way, if your machines don't have a TPM 2.0 chip, there's actually an approved workaround by Microsoft, but I still wouldn't recommend to upgrade those machines because first, Microsoft reserves the right to deny updates and support, which is especially relevant in business environments. And Windows 11 can cause pretty big performance issues on older machines. But so much in theory. Dave, do you want to show us what Windows 11 deployment looks like from a technical perspective?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the introduction. That's some good insight there. I actually didn't know about the TPM workaround personally, because I was lucky so far. I always had the TPM machines. But yeah, of course, I can show you a couple of things, guys. I'll just start the screen share here. While this is getting ready, I was actually talking to one of our colleagues right before the session here, and he asked me, so what was the first thing you changed on your Windows 11 machine? And I didn't really have an answer for it. And he's like, yeah, I can't deal with the centered start menu. He moved it to the left again. He's like, now I'm feeling at home again. That's interesting. I'm curious to see how that goes with normal users out there, if they all want to have their start menu on the left side or centered. That's going to be fun. Reminds me a little bit when XP to Windows 7 migration was a thing, how everyone was so annoyed with the new start menu. But yeah, let's look into Baramundi here. We're using the Baramundi Management Center, and here I want to show you a couple of things about Windows 11 deployments, about different ways how to get it installed, the system requirements. I actually saw in the chat already, people also talking about the TPM. So I have a couple of things prepared there for you. Before we jump into the details here, first thing I want to do is actually kick off the Windows 11 installation and Windows 11 in-place upgrade, because that will take a while. I tested it earlier today. It should be done by the end of the session, but let's see if we can start this first here. I have two machines prepared, my VM number 3 and VM number 2. Currently, both are sitting in the login mask and just waiting. Windows 10 machines, 2004 release. I chose the 2004 because it's actually quite interesting. 2004 support ended officially last month. So that's now the oldest build you should be on, or actually should now get away from, because there are no security updates coming out anymore. And both machines are on the same build. Let's see if the other one is still alive. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so let's go and use one for the in-place upgrade and one for a fresh install. Because like always, when it comes to moving to a new Windows build or a new Windows version, we see it all the time. There are some customers out there in some environments that prefer the in-place upgrade. And then you maybe have lots of machines where you want to do a fresh install. So I think both scenarios are legit and definitely something you need to pay attention to. So VM3 is going to be my in-place upgrade example. I have everything prepared here. Let's do an in-place Windows 11 installation on that machine. And for my other machine, we do a fresh install. So what's going to happen is the fresh install is going to reboot. It's going to do a Pixie boot in the background. From the Pixie boot, it will take care of the partitioning. It will take care of preparing everything, executing the setup. And then after a couple of reboots, it should be already domain joined and should be ready to go. And the other machine with the in-place upgrade will right now just sit there in the login screen. It will prepare a couple of things, move some files, do some compatibility checks, and then it will do the in-place upgrade. If you have done an in-place upgrade before, you probably know the drill. It's pretty much just creating like a backup of the current installation, then installing the new version, migrating user information, and after at least 2, 3, 4 reboots, you have your new build installed. And if something goes wrong, of course, you can also go back to the old build again. So this is now running. So now we can actually spend some time on the prerequisites and setting everything up, making sure you have everything lined up in your environment. And hopefully when we're done with that, we can take a look at both machines and they should be done by that time. So we talked about Windows 11 requirements already. A couple things to mention here. I created in Baramundi, it's called dynamic groups. It's really just like a view in your database. It uses some criteria. And what I did here is Windows, then a little bit more specific, show me all the machines with Windows 10 64-bit or Windows 7 64-bit. Then another filter is the TPM version, minimum 2.0. Main memory, actually ran into an issue yesterday there. The 4 gig is pretty much like a hard cut there. and I had the machine set up to something like exactly 4 gig, or had it set up to 4 gig, and then it deducted the GPU memory. So Windows was complaining about it and was telling me like, hey, you can't install it on this machine because it's under 4 gig. So I changed my requirements here a little bit. Then partition C, free space. Of course, we need quite a lot of space. I think the official requirement for Windows 11 is around like 64 gig. I didn't have really any issues there with my machines. And then we have the boot mode, talking about UEFI, secure boot UEFI, or if you still have machines that are not installed through UEFI and GPT partitioning, you will also run into some issues there. So it's definitely worth to take a look there and see if you have all of your machines in UEFI mode. So my machines, of course, show up in that list. They are prepared using the VM built-in TPM and having all the other hardware specs set up accordingly. So this is a good way to check if you're ready in your environment, or if you maybe have some machines that are not ready for Windows 11. Here with our solution, of course, it's pretty easy to have both. So you can switch here and say all of the conditions need to be fulfilled, or you can set it up to none of the conditions. That would be exactly the opposite, of course. Let's go into our Windows 11 images. So in preparation, of course, I went ahead and create already a Windows 11 entry here in our system, imported the ISO, made sure that I have a couple of customizations in there, but I kept the original one as well, so we can look into customizing Windows 11. In our solution, we have a separate tool, OS customization tool. You have to think about that tool a little bit like all the PowerShell commands you can find out there when you Google for like how to remove Windows 10 apps or Windows 11 apps. And what this tool does for you, it's pretty much a GUI for all those commands. Because in the background, we just make sure we execute all the PowerShell commands, different commands. You know that story about cleaning up Windows 10 and Windows 11. So here in that tool, we can go through everything, features. Me personally, don't spend too much time here. I always just make sure that .NET 3.5 is added, and you have that in your image, because at some point you need it anyways, and it can be pretty painful to add that afterwards. When it comes to apps, it pretty much lists all the apps currently from that image. Just as an example, I will just remove a couple things. We don't have to go through every single one. Gaming app, something we don't need. Get started. Let's get rid of that too. And then get rid of all the Xbox apps. And maybe even Zune. Nobody really uses it anymore. Of course, you can go further in here and just remove pretty much everything. One limitation, something that we learned over the time with Windows 10, is the Windows Store should be still part of that image. Because if you remove Windows Store, doesn't matter Windows 11 or Windows 10, you usually run into some issues there, especially in multi-language environments. You run into some issues if the store is not there. But even if you just have an English image, sometimes it can be problematic if the Windows Store is completely removed. Then patches would be something, right now it's not so important for Windows 11. I worked a lot with this tool and the patches for Windows 10 images, because if you have the latest Windows 10 build, it's most likely already a couple months old, and you have so many patches already you could implement. Windows 11 is still fairly fresh, so that's something maybe even you can include the December patch day, or now the January patch day coming up. That's something we could implement here and make sure you have at least that patch level in that image already. But just for the timing, and it takes quite a while to integrate those patches, I'm just leaving the default here. And there's actually already something in here, some service tech updates. The more interesting portions are settings, corporate design, and privacy. So you all know how annoying it can be to install Windows 10 freshly out of the box, or Windows 11. You have so many tools already installed, so many pop-ups coming up. User gets tons of notifications, and here we try to make sure you can turn those notifications off and all those apps. So one thing would be OneDrive. You can turn off lots of notifications. Maybe we keep this one, but we want to remove the Windows tips. Let's see what else do we have. Marketplace recommendation. We can turn it off as well. Then we have corporate design. Very interesting. Corporate design is something where you can add pictures for the account pictures. You can add specific themes, start menu layouts, lock screens. So that's something you can use if you're interested in that area. Me personally, I've worked a couple times with customers already that were very keen on that, making sure that every machine looks exactly the same, especially if they're like customer facing. It's always nice to have this nice corporate design in there and have the same look on every single machine. So you can spend some time there, set everything up, prepare everything, and then integrate that. Privacy settings, we have a whole list of privacy settings when it comes to app permissions, when it comes to other privacy-related ones. My favorite ones are always here, the diagnostics and feedback. It can be pretty annoying for the end user, so we can turn it off. We can also turn off some advertising. And Cortana is another one that you should turn off. So then in the summary, we can see all of the settings I just modified. And now we can save the template. So if we ever have to go back, one reason could be there's a new Windows 11 build, there's a new version you want to modify again. So that's something you can do in here. That is very important. So usually I save the configuration template, but here for us, it's just a one-time thing. So we don't have to go through that. And saving that image pretty much just means it's going to apply all the changes, like I mentioned earlier, most likely some dism commands, PowerShell commands in the background. Then it will commit all the changes to that image and it will close that image. So after that process here is done, you have a customized installation Vim file. If you ever worked with this and did some customizations there, you know what I'm talking about. It's this big installation file. You can do this customization for different versions. Right now here I had a Pro mounted. Of course, you can do this for the Enterprise. You can do it also for the N versions. So everything is available in there. This process most likely will take probably between like 10 to 15 minutes. It's lots of data we have to modify, and also just committing the changes and closing that image just takes a while. So we can jump over to our installations. Let's see what VM3 and VM2 are doing. VM3 says it's running, and VM2 is waiting for the boot client connection. So let's go VM3, just sits here, and VM2 is currently restarting. Okay, so that's pretty good timing. Let's see where we end up. This should boot automatically into a Pixie, but it doesn't do it. Interesting. Let's do it manually. Literally just tried it right before the session. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So this one, for whatever reason, was not configured to Pixie boot. So I just did it manually. You can probably barely see it in the remote session. Okay, so now it's actually doing the Pixie boot. Cool. So yeah, that was the first part of our live demo. So Axel can take over from here. We can talk about a couple other things related to Windows 11, and then later on we will jump back in here. We can see where the machines are, and I can also show you a couple more things on how to maintain your freshly installed Windows 11 machines. So Axel, you can go from here.
All right. Thank you, David. Yeah, so we saw at least already that it's really easy to set up the Windows 11 installation and to get that triggered on the machines. But after the deployment, we have other topics like updates and applications and stuff, which play a big role in the decision of migrating now or later as well. And most important, Microsoft realized that the semi-annual upgrades were a little bit too much. So they decided to switch to an annual cycle instead with Windows 11. And that definitely takes some pressure off their own schedules, but also for all the IT departments out there. Also because each Windows 11 version, I should maybe also click my slides, sorry, has now support for 2 years with the Home and Pro licensing and 3 years with the Education and Enterprise licensing. So you definitely get a little bit more time here before they pressure you into doing an upgrade to a newer version. The quality update cycle stays pretty much the same with Patch Tuesday every month, so nothing really changed here beside that Microsoft managed to reduce the update size by around 40% with Windows 11. That's especially cool for remote users. I mean, nowadays we have a lot of them, especially in rural areas and with slow internet connections. And what Microsoft offers as well is the same with, like they had it with Windows 10 in the beginning. The service will support you in terms of making your apps work properly on Windows 11. So if you have bought more than 150 licenses for an eligible Microsoft 365 or Windows 11 plan, the Microsoft support team will actually help you at no extra cost to make sure that stuff is running. Yeah, so much in the theory part to patches and stuff. You're ready to jump back in the live demo, Dave?
Yeah, that was just enough time to actually kick off the Windows 11 installation.
Perfect.
Here we are. Yeah, so my machine here right now sits in Pixie Boot, is waiting for the setup to start. Like I mentioned earlier, it's pretty much doing the partitioning, making sure it's a new partition, 100% C drive. In my scenario, of course, it's configurable how you want to set that up. So we can see it live here. It's probably pretty small, but you get the idea. This setup will show up any moment. Here it is. So this is now pretty much running through that setup, completely automated. It's not going to ask me any questions, and it's using all the customizations or similar customizations like we just did earlier. The other image I prepared before that session is pretty much the same, removing a couple of apps, making sure some privacy settings are turned off and changed. So now here we can see the setup is running. Let's go back to the other machine. This is still sitting in the login screen, which pretty much just means this machine is still working on backing everything up, moving files around, making this backup. And then after a reboot, the actual migration will start and the actual in-place upgrade will start. So we probably will see that once we're done looking into the patching. So let's go into patching. So in general, we have to differentiate between just normal maintenance from month to month with our security updates, cumulative updates. We have now for a while those monthly cumulative updates. That's a good thing. And like Axel mentioned, now with Windows 11, it is actually faster, easier. It doesn't take that much bandwidth and space anymore. That's a good thing, especially with our current situation where we're in. So many people are still working from home or will probably not come back to the office. And bandwidth, depending on the area where you're in, is often a problem. We just had a colleague being super happy about having that new satellite internet from Tesla, from Elon Musk. Before he had always lots of issues with applying updates on his own machines, and he just ran into timeouts. It's just very annoying for the end user as well. But it's always good to hear when updates and maintenance tasks are getting easier and don't take that much time anymore. And then on the other side, you have those in-place upgrades, the one that is just right now running on my Windows 10 machine. So that's going to be still a thing. Microsoft maybe changed their approach a little bit. It's not going to be as aggressive anymore, where the original idea was with Windows 10 to have always those 2 major updates per year. Most likely we won't see that anymore with Windows 11. It's going to change slightly. Probably can expect something like 1 major update per year. So this gives us as administrators more time to deal with that, prepare, test everything, and then roll it out. So those are the two different scenarios, just normal maintenance and then the in-place upgrade. So looking into the normal maintenance, let's go into our update management here. So let's do a new update profile for our Windows 11. Update profiles, at least in Baramundi, are there to configure specific settings when it comes to the normal monthly patches. So you can set up deferrals, you can defer updates by X amount of days, especially in production environments, healthcare environments, all those critical systems, 24/7 systems. It's a good idea to have like a small deferral in there, to have something like a 3-day, 5-day, 7-day deferral. So you just make sure that you apply updates only if they are at least 7 days old. That gives you some time to check the news and see if there were any issues with this specific patch. Then in the classifications, we can specify, similar to WSUS and other tools, we can specify if we want to apply security updates, critical updates, and maybe even all the other ones. Here in my test environment, of course, I'm totally fine doing everything. So now we have a new profile, and then this profile can be assigned to machines. Pretty easy in a test environment. We're just going to assign this to all of my test machines. And then once we have our machines assigned, we can actually apply the patch jobs and the patch tasks. And that is something can be extremely helpful if you have a mixed environment, because here, my test environment, even there, I have a good mix. I have a server in here, I have a couple of test VMs, I have another 2016 server in here, a core server. So maybe even in an environment like that, you want to have a different patch selection for the different machines. But let's just keep it simple for now. We can do this for the whole group. That's assigned. And then we can create a task or a job in our language here. And this job will push out all of our updates. We have different mechanisms. In this case here, I'm going to do Windows Update online, and then maybe even like a manual, because this is something I will trigger. I'm in the lucky position here, I have fiber network, so I don't really want to do something like WSUS where we download the patches first on the server and then push it out to the machines. I don't really care about that one, but maybe for you, if you have some issues there, if you have some bandwidth issues, we also have that option where you can just, like WSUS, download patches on the server and then just push them out internally. That saves lots of data traffic there. So let's go ahead and apply those patches. Here we have a couple different options. I'm going to go with Windows and other Microsoft updates, so pretty much everything, and use my new profile that I just created. And once we have the task, we can of course assign it to my 2 test machines. And those 2 jobs will now just sit in line and wait for the Windows 11 setup to finish. Let's double check where we are right now. Okay, this is unfortunately still working on the in-place upgrade, and this one is in the middle of the setup. Yeah, so at this time, I think it's a good time to get back into our presentation. And Axel, if you want to continue.
Sounds good, yeah. You just proved what I mentioned earlier, that Windows 11 takes a little bit longer with the update.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that leaves us to the big question here. So adapt early or wait it out. What I really love to see here in the chat already is you guys are discussing that, and yeah, everyone has a different opinion that some did the switch, some really like some features from Windows 11. The other ones say, nope, I will definitely wait till mid of 2023. And yeah, there is no right or wrong when it comes to that question. But we can look at the pros and cons we have on both sides to make the decision a little bit easier. Let's start with the adapt early. So why would it make sense to to do an earlier switch to Windows 11? Well, first of all, the upgrade effort is relatively simple. So it is not too much work, as we just saw. You just have to plan a little bit time on the machines that they can actually run through it. The management capabilities are definitely there. It can easily coexist with Windows 10 environments. So it integrates really easy in what you have already. So if you decide to do like just some machines, especially maybe you can just do some machines because of the requirements, you could definitely start at some point there. The update size is smaller, so for all the remote users, that's a little bit more interesting. And then we have the security aspect, but to be honest, with Windows 10, you can actually do the same things if you want to. Windows 11 just forces you a little bit into those. Why should we wait? Well, we definitely have the usability. I saw that in the chat too, that some people mentioned that, yeah, my users, they have to get used to that. I totally agree with this. If you give it a little bit more time, maybe the users use it at home already, get used to the new design, or Microsoft even gives us a little bit more options in the future to customize this design a little bit more back to what we're used to. So that, of course, comes with a higher support because the users just come with questions. So that might be a reason why we want to wait a little longer. Then there are no significant new features, especially in the business world. I don't see too much features right now, which make it really the big reason to do the jump right now. Actually, more on the other side, we have missing features because with Windows 11, we don't have the Internet Explorer anymore. Some companies might still rely on that for web applications. The OneNote app is not available. The taskbar is very limited and stuff. And we just don't have any time pressure. I mean, Windows 10 is available until 2025, so there is no pressure right now to actually jump right now. Especially with the old machines, yeah, you just might not be ready to actually do a full migration to Windows 11. And then, yeah, new operating system, new bugs. It's just in the nature of things, right? And even if the bugs are nothing serious, they can be just productivity killers because some apps might not run properly and the users, yeah, might need more support again. So, David, what's your opinion on if we should, if it makes sense to switch right now or wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, it depends really on your situation. I mentioned the version 2004. If the majority is on 2004 or older, I would personally consider it to go to Windows 11 directly and don't do another jump to the latest and greatest Windows 10 version. I think that's a really good time to do that. But if you are already on the latest, or let's say the last two Windows 10 builds, there is no pressure. Like Axel just explained, there is no pressure to update to Windows 11. I would definitely take some time there, do some testing maybe in your own environment, set up a couple machines, or work with some colleagues in your department to maybe just upgrade a couple of your own machines and just work with them for a couple of weeks and see how it goes. That's my approach. I have been working in a couple of environments where the Windows 10 machines were pretty much outdated, or even some Windows 7 machines were still around. So then it definitely makes sense to jump on the Windows 11 right away. It would be just a waste of time to jump into Windows 10 again. Yeah, that's my approach. But that pretty much sums it up. That PowerPoint slide there gives you all the benefits and disadvantages of maybe going so early onto Windows 11 already.
Yeah, I can definitely double that. Yeah, you don't have the time pressure, and after they coexist pretty well, Windows 10 and Windows 11, when you have to do an update anyways or get some new machines, that could be a reason to just start with them instead of doing a full migration. Yeah, the next upgrade or the first upgrade for Windows 11 will come out in October. So let's see if Microsoft brings out a little bit more features and makes it more attractive, and then we can still re-evaluate if it makes sense to migrate the whole environment or not. And another approach, just as an idea to throw it out there, is an insider program. So just offer your users an insider program, give them the chance to decide themselves if they are ready for Windows 11 or not. In Baramundi, for example, you have a self-service portal where you can just offer the users to install or execute something themselves, whatever you predefined. And that could be, for example, a Windows 11 installation. So just the users which are a little bit more techy or maybe know Windows 11 from home already, they can do the switch if they want to, and that gives you also the option to collect some more experience, how it handles in your environment in general. Yeah, I hope that gave you a good idea for your decision if you should do the upgrade now or wait a little bit longer. I think we also got some questions lined up. David, did you want to moderate the questions?
Yes, thank you, David. Yeah, we have questions coming in, and reminder, get those questions in now, and we can get to as many as we can. So John, it brings up a good question. He's asking, how difficult is it to roll back to Windows 10 after an upgrade to 11 if not performing as hoped?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's the same procedure like with Windows 10 itself, where you have this full backup on the hard disk. You have this recovery point. That's something that's there for at least 30 days, could be even longer. This can be somewhat automated, that process, if you want to roll back. That's something you can trigger, that rollback, but you definitely have that option. It is available. It is there. That let's say fallback point, recovery point, and yeah, that is something you can definitely do. I thankfully never had to do it so far. So far, everything went well, even in Windows 10 upgrades or Windows 7 to Windows 10. But it's definitely available, built into Windows.
All right, thank you. So another question from Jay Mora is, what are the biggest issues you're facing when building a custom image to deploy Windows 11 through MDT?
I'm not the MDT expert. I'm more on the baramundi side. But yeah, I can speak from baramundi. What are the biggest challenges when it comes to like a customized image? Customization is always a good idea. It definitely helps. But I see challenges with customization when it comes to sometimes like the start menu layouts, importing patches, or even go a step further to do like a hybrid where you maybe still use the install vim file and you still use the setup, but you already integrate, let's say, other applications. So you go more towards the direction of cloning, where you customize that image highly and you just add more applications, more features to it. That can be problematic. So I always prefer to keep it simple when it comes to the OS installation. Just have the absolute basics in there, all the OS related customizations, but then dynamically install drivers, apps, other things you need to apply to this machine. That I had the best experiences with that. That's all I can say when it comes to the general things. Again, MDT is not really my area where I'm working with.
Okay, let's get this next one from Wanaflow. And hey, Wanaflow, how are you doing? Thanks for sending in a question. Does the baramundi product support remote deployments in a domain join environment using VPN?
Yeah, we definitely support that. So when it comes to in-place upgrades, that's something we can definitely do over VPN, and we can also do without VPN. If you use our gateway, that's how we call it. It's like a small web server you can install in your DMZ, and then you can actually do the in-place upgrades over the internet without VPN as well. That is possible. Of course, you have to calculate lots of time when it comes to doing something like that over the internet. VPN or no VPN doesn't really matter, because you have to copy over that whole image, which depending on your customizations and how much you integrate, it can be easily between like 5 to 10 gig. So that needs to be copied over first, which in our case will be done through the bits protocol. So it's pretty reliable. Even if something goes wrong in the middle of the copy job, it will just continue where it stopped the last time. So it's definitely possible that, but just yeah, you have to calculate some time. You have to calculate some time to get that copied over.
Okay, let's see. We've had about 15 minutes, but let's try to get maybe a couple more in so we can wrap up. Let's see here. Crashbox is asking, does Windows 11 pull updates from other users on the network like Windows 10?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's the same thing. It's the same procedure, this whole peer-to-peer setup. You can still control it through your GPO. You can still use that. Nothing really changed there. Still the same approach, and it's a good feature depending on your infrastructure, depending on how you're set up. If you don't have, let's say, file servers in every location where you have just the storage available, that's always a nice feature to have, to use one machine to download everything and then be the file server basically for other machines. That still works. Yeah, what else do we have?
Yeah, I was just seeing this one from Kenneth. Is Windows 11 incompatible or glitchy with any specific type of programs that you know about at this point?
Yeah, I think so far in the news, there was not much. I don't know if chat wants to answer that as well. If you guys already have some experience there. So far, what we heard in our team, not much. Didn't really hear anything special, but maybe someone in the chat can also answer that as well.
Yeah, if anyone wants to jump in there on the audience side, just drop that in the chat section. Okay, let's do one more here. How can we ensure all of Windows 10 hardware requirements are fulfilled with Windows 11?
Yeah, I showed how you can do it in baramundi with the list of the requirements. I went over the hard disk with 60 gig at least should be, or 30 gig should be available, or hard disk size should be bigger than 60 gig. Same when it comes to the memory, 4 gig of memory, TPM 2.0, and UEFI. Those are the most important ones for me. There are tools out there actually from Microsoft. It's like a pre-check tool that pretty much just creates a report on the hardware and just double checks if everything is okay. You can look that up. I don't know the name of the tool in the top of my head, but it's something from Microsoft directly to check if all the requirements are fulfilled.
Okay, with that, I think we're going to just go ahead and wrap up. I thank everyone in our audience for sending in those questions. And I thank Axel and David for taking us through that great presentation and the live demo. Special shout out to Baramundi Software for making this event possible today.